Um, Immediately when I read the script, I was drawn to it. You know, being like a young actress, I read a lot of scripts that I think are not even close to as interesting as this one, and maybe, you know, even sometimes offensive, all the things it has to say about like young girls and women. And this one, not only is it centered around a woman, but it's also really provocative, and I think brings up things that I haven't ever seen brought up ever, about love, about the world, about relationships, about women, about men, about sex, things I've just never come across. And immediately I was drawn to it. And, you know, I was a little scared of it too when I first read it. But those are the things that I think are the most interesting, things that scare you a little bit. So that was what I thought. When we meet her, she's, I think, in a very dark place. She's surrounded by people who she has really no way of communicating with in any kind of an honest way, people who don't attempt to communicate with her in an honest way or interact with her in any kind of honest way. She's depressed and unhappy because of that. Feels like it's her fault that nothing is getting in to her world. And she has just come out of an institution because she cuts herself when she gets anxious or unhappy or depressed. And actually what we're shooting today is that very day that she comes back from this institution. And, you know, I think she's just completely alone and dead inside, numb.
Why does she cut herself?
It's a complicated question. I mean, it's a question that Mr. Gray asks her in the script, and she says, I don't know. I think it's a way of feeling in a world that doesn't allow her that option, doesn't, you know, force feeling on her. She shut herself down so much over the course of her life, her, you know, 22, 23 years, that the only way that she can really feel is to inflict it on herself. I also think, you know, if you feel pain or anxiety, that that feeling or a fear of that feeling can be overwhelming. And I think to cut yourself, or, you know, to inflict pain on yourself in a way that has a clear beginning and end, you know, a cut that's this big, begins here and ends here, is to kind of take control of it, to keep it contained. And also, and this is something that Mr. Gray's character says, and I think is true, I think really touches something in Lee, you can watch it heal. You know, you can feel not only a beginning and end of the pain itself, but then, you know, a healing of the wound in a way. It's much more difficult to watch like a deep emotional pain heal. It takes a lot more commitment and facing dark things than it does to sort of watch a physical wound heal. It's much clearer. It's a clearer manifestation of it, which is not to say that it's healthy or good. It's just maybe a way of sort of trying to take control of really dark, hard things in her life. But it's also important to say that this is a black comedy, this movie. It's not like, you know, it's, there's a sort of lightness about this thing that she does to herself, even as it's horrible, and I think the darkest thing in the movie. It's important to say that it's in the context of a black comedy, you know?
But you can't play black comedy.
Absolutely, absolutely, and so it's really horrible what this girl does to herself and her body.
So, as an actress, do you know somebody like that? I mean, how did you go about putting her together?
Well, I did the sort of simple things of reading about it. You know, Steve and I watched a couple of, you know, specials on girls who do this to themselves. But in a way, just the way that I am, that's not the most active, passionate way of going about it. I think it's important to do that kind of research, but the way I've been talking about it with you, like understanding that it can be a way of taking all the, you know, everyone in the world feels pain. And, you know, as an actress or an actor, you have to notice that and be aware of it in yourself and in other people. And I think everybody has different ways of dealing with that pain. Obviously, you know, and Lee in the movie goes from this, you know, cutting herself and dealing with it in this way, trying desperately to take control of it and push it away and just want it to go away, which is ironic since she's inflicting pain on herself. But I think it's a way of trying to get control of the emotional stuff she's going through. to really dealing with that pain, to allowing it, to accepting the fact that within the world there is both pain and joy, and to push the pain out or to try and contain it is not to live wholly and truly and completely. So you asked me how I sort of could relate to that or found a way to manifest it, you know, as someone who doesn't cut myself and can't imagine doing that. I just recognize it as pain and a way of dealing with pain, which is something, of course, I've done. Everyone's done who's alive, you know, so.